Hello, and welcome to the floor portion of our workout today. Let's go ahead and get onto our back, feet flat on the floor. You might need light weights, you might need a ball, and you might need a strap, but not necessarily. It's going to depend on your desire. Okay, so feet flat on the floor, shoulder width apart. Have your head on the ground, shoulders pulled back and down. Don't hike them up near your neck. Tighten your abs, 3 fingers, and start poking your belly. So you're going to engage the abdominals and you're going to start poking the belly. You have a muscle called the transverse abdominis. This muscle wraps around you from mid back to the line where your belly button was when you were in utero. And that is a muscle that wraps you literally like a girdle. If you ever watched Gone with the Wind, there's that moment where she's holding the bedpost and she's squeezing, they're squeezing her into that girdle. Well, that's what we have is a human girdle. And so when we touch it, the studies show that it does not want these fingers touching into our organs. So it tightens up that muscle. So this is just a nice way how to antagonize that muscle to keep it strong enough to keep things from just poking into your organs here. It's also responsible for not letting your organs spill out. So if you had too much Thanksgiving dinner, the reason it doesn't just bulge out is because of your transverse abdominis. And then we're going to go ahead and bring our hands down to the side, and we're going to keep those shoulders tucked. We're keeping the feet shoulder width apart, and you're going to start working on the pelvic floor. So you're going to squeeze your rectum, your private area, your urethra, and hold them, and relax. So there's 3 muscles on your pelvic floor: rectum, private area, vaginal for girls, testes for boys, and then the urethra where we urinate from. So we're going to find those 3 muscles and tighten 1, 2, 3, and then you're holding, and relaxing. Most people don't want to talk about these muscles because, of course, they're private and it's embarrassing and all that fun stuff. But it's so important to how we hold ourselves up when we're either sitting on the chairs, right? Because most of us, when we sit, we don't sit on our sitting bones, we sit on our tailbones. And so our pelvic floor just gets so weak. And keep going as I'm talking. You're squeezing 1, 2, 3, and relax. And when we stand, people don't stand with their rectum and private area somewhat engaged. And then what happens is they end up locking their knees, their hip tilts forward, and then their lower vertebrae becomes the new pelvic floor. And then last one right here. And when we have that pelvic tilting, because our pelvic floor is released, our rectum is released, and it's just loose, what happens is your whole torso has to sit on something. It wants to sit on the pelvic floor. It wants to sit there with gravity, but because it's tilted forward, it can't sit there. So it has to sit on the bottom vertebrae, the S1, L5, sometimes L4, depending how much you tilt. So if you know you have lower back problems, we can usually almost directly change it, pending it wasn't an accident of some sort or degenerative disease. We can usually trace it to a postural position to start with. And it's going to end up being all those hip things we talk about. So next, we're going to move on to bridges. So having your heels under your knees, feet are shoulder width apart, hands to the side. You're going to tighten the abs, tighten that pelvic floor we just talked about, squeeze your glutes, push through the heels, lifting your body in one motion. You're going to hold it and then slowly lower it down, really keeping those heels on task. If you feel like this is too easy, Carissa, you're always welcome to put some weights on the bone here, your pelvic bone on the sides, and lifting yourself up and down. Glutes are very strong, and so they can handle a lot of weight as you train yourself to do this exercise correctly. But for now, we're going to go without weights. Tight abs, tight butt, push through the heels, really squeeze those butt cheeks. The hamstrings are working, your abs are nice and tight, and you're nice and level. You're not over arcing this movement pattern, because to over arc it would mean your back's getting involved, and this is exactly what we're trying to avoid. What we're doing here is, if you were watching ourselves as a skeleton, our back is nice and flat against the floor and our hip is folded. This is like a bending and sitting motion, but we're training our nervous system how to push through the heels and engage the glutes, the pelvic floor, and the hamstrings without engaging the back. Our lower abs are engaged, our pelvic floor, our glutes, our hamstring, the heels. And so this is a safe way if you have any spinal injuries or issues going on. This is the safe way to learn how to get away from utilizing your knees and your lower back to move you around. We're going to go ahead and come on down here, and we're going to hug both of our knees together and then flex those feet, making little L's out of them. And you're just hugging those knees. So your knees are getting stretched, your hips are getting stretched, and you should feel this in your lower back here where the mat and the floor touch each other. We're not rocking around, we're not moving, we're just staying nice and still. A lot of times people like to wiggle when they're stretching. The problem is the body doesn't recognize it as a stretch, it recognizes it as a movement. So it's in a different tension space of what the nerves are ready to do versus a releasing, letting the tendons and ligaments grow longer. So when we're doing stretches, we want to just hold them nice and still and not wiggle around. I like to hold mine for a minimum of 30 seconds. Anything less usually is not going to be transformative. They did a study and they found the best is 30 seconds 3 times. Come on down, put those feet on the floor, nice tight abs. We're going to put our hands down again, and we're going to go ahead and move to leg circles. So we're going to put our right leg up to the ceiling, nice tight abs. We want our heel over the hip. And then what we're going to do, we're going to lock down our torso like a brick here. And we're going to go clockwise circles in our thighs. So think about your thigh bone inside your hip socket. Make sure your your left leg's flat on the floor. I'm sorry, the foot is flat on the floor and the knee is bent. And then you're keeping your torso perfectly still. So you're resisting your abdominals because your spine and your hip want to wiggle during this one. What we're trying to do is we're locking down the abs so the pelvic bone stays nice and still. And the thigh bone is making a circle inside the hip socket. We have 3, 2, 1, and bring that leg down. And then we're going to go ahead and move to the next leg. Left leg comes straight up. The other leg, foot flat on the floor, knee is bent. Tighten the abs, flex the foot, and clockwise circles. So really just visualize the pelvic bone nice and still, right? And then the thigh bone is making that circle inside the hip socket. The foot is flexed. The abs are tight. Basically, if we had a big steaming cup of hot water filled to the brim, burning hot, it would not spill. That's how tight we want our abs, that it's like a brick house. You have 3, 2, 1, and bring that leg down. And then we're going to go ahead and put our right ankle, left knee. If this is all you can do because your hips are tight, just hold it here. If you can go to the next level, you're going to keep the hip nice and still, push the knee away. If that's all you can do, because then stay there. If you feel like this is easy, you're going to tighten your abs. You're going to grab the left thigh, interlace your fingers together, and straighten the left leg and flex that left foot. Don't point it, left it, flex it. And I know it's tempting to want to wiggle that top foot, but I need that hamstring to stretch, and it won't stretch if you're constantly wiggling the ankle and the foot. So just stretch it out here. Feel everything releasing, your neck and shoulders, your hamstrings all just releasing and feeling good. You have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come on down and down. Nice tight abs. Gonna put the left ankle, right knee, and then you're going, if that's all you can do, you're just gonna stay there. If that's easy, you're gonna push the left knee away from you without moving your torso. If that's easy, tighten your abs, interlace your fingers on the right thigh, flex the foot, tuck the shoulders, and hold it there. Straighten your legs, flex the foot. Relax the neck and shoulders, feel the stretch in the hamstring. You have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and bring that down and down. Okay, we're going to go ahead. We did clockwise circles. So now we have to do counterclockwise circles. Nice tight abdominals, bringing up the right leg, nice tight abs, flex the foot. Picture yourself like a big brick here, picture a skeleton, and you're going to now go counterclockwise circles in your hips without wiggling your pelvic, right? The pelvis bone is staying perfectly still. The spinal cord is perfectly still. You hear little baby? You have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come on down, nice tight abs, and lifting up the left leg, flex the foot, and we're going to go counterclockwise circles. Again, tight abs, hip stays nice and still. The other knee doesn't wiggle around to counterbalance it, stays nice and still. We're just visualizing our skeleton thigh bone, putting a rotation into the hip socket. Again, if you did picture the standing exercises we did earlier, we were just trying to get that hip socket nice and strong. We want that femur head nice and strong and nice attached to the pelvic. And it's going to help you later on in life. It'll help you today too, but later on too, because we're going to keep that nice and strong. You can come on down. And then we're going to grab your strap here. So yeah, she is 13 days old. Pretty cool. Okay, straighten the leg and then straighten. So the goal is you bring it down, you straighten the leg, including the knee, flex the foot, and then you pull up until the level that you feel is nice and straight. If you're lifting and your knee is bent, then you're not doing the exercise correctly. We need this all straight. So if that's going to mean you're going to have to lower the leg. So if you're down here and you come here and it starts bending, you're going to have to sit and swallow the pride and lower the leg. So don't worry that you lower. Most people are at first, and then people get straighter and straighter as they practice and stay consistent. But right now, it's just about being straight, not about being high. You're going to feel it from the bottom of your butt all the way back to your calves. You should not feel it in the Achilles tendon, though. So if you do, you're going to have to lower it just a tad bit more. And you're keeping the left leg nice and bent. And we just hold this one nice and long because hardly anyone stretches this out. When you stand, you don't want to stand with your knees super duper straight. You want soft knees. But when you walk, you want that back leg when you're walking back, the one that's behind you, we want that leg to be able to straighten out. And nice tight abs. You're going to bring the left foot in the strap, remove the right foot. I'll place it on the floor. You're going to lower the leg, straighten that knee, nice tight abs, and then you're going to start pulling up until you feel that the knee wants to bend. The second the knee wants to bend, you got to lower to that place where it didn't want to bend. And just relaxing the neck and shoulders. We hold this one for a long time because this one is one that nobody ever gets to deal with. Hardly anyone gets to stretch this one. Well, I guess everyone can. We need to work on. No one wants to. Okay, come on down and set that strap to the side. We're going to go ahead and move to marches. Hands are down to the side. We're going to push the belly button to the floor and the spine towards the floor. The spine may not reach the floor. It's just the effort of pushing it down, engaging the transverse abdominis. That's all we're looking towards, is fixing that. So we're going to have two levels. Level one, tucking the shoulder, belly button and spine towards the floor, keeping the knees 90 degrees, just bringing one leg up, set it down, what the other leg presses towards the chest, keeping the knees 90 degrees, and just going back and forth without wiggling the hip, holding it nice and tight. Level two would be bringing the knees over the hips, push to the floor, and tap and tap and tap. So you do what is best for your body. Some people need to just work on practicing the belly button to the floor, and other people need to practice keeping the abs down as they're marching through. So you do what is best for yours and keep breathing through it. Your transverse abdominis is really tight right now, but your diaphragm is locked in place. So if you can keep breathing, it's going to make your diaphragm even stronger. And we all want strong diaphragms. It really pays off if ever we get sick and we are all mucused up. We have 4, 3, 2, 1, and bring that down. Nice job. We're going to have your feet together, knees together, tighten the abs and open those legs apart. You can roll the bottoms of the feet together here. You've got to really keep your butt tight and your abs tight because you don't want your back to arc. That's really not healthy for your spine to just be open like that. So nice neutral pelvic floor with tight butt, tight abs, and then the inner thighs. And we're just holding it there because it's really important to have these thighs stay open. As we age, a lot of times people, they get more narrow and narrow. And it really, if they ever get into the hospital or they have to have someone help them in their nursing home ages and stuff, it's really bad later on. A lot of infections and things. So you want to make sure we can keep these nice and wide open. And it starts now. Nice tight abs and bring those knees together. We're going to move to ab twist next. We're going to, you don't need the ball here, but I want you to visualize if you had like a grapefruit under your chin, that it would just keep that neutral neck the whole time, that you're not swinging your neck up. And we're going to, if you have osteoporosis and your doctor has said no crunches for you, all you're going to do is you're just going to tuck the shoulders and push your belly button to the spine and relax. You're just going to do regular modified crunches here. So we're just going to practice squeezing and bringing down. But if you don't have osteoporosis and your doctor says it's fine to do crunches, we're going to take it up a notch. We're going to bring it behind our head. We're going to crunch straight up to the ceiling. We're going to tighten those abs. Don't turn the neck. The neck follows with the chest. You're going to use your abdominal to lift the shoulder, left shoulder off the floor just a little bit, and then back to the center, set it back down. Tucking the shoulders, you're going to lift up and you're going to turn to the right and then back to the center and down. So that's going to equal 1. Tucking shoulders, you're going to go up, twist to the right, back to the center and down. Tucking shoulders, up, twist to the left, back to the center and down. Really visualize your abdominals here are lifting you up and your abs are pulling the rib cage to the side. They're releasing it down and down. Abdominals pull you forward. The abdominals pull the rib cage and then they pull you, release to the center and release you down. So this is all happening in the abdominals. This is not happening in your chest. This is not happening in your neck. And if the reality is, because I'm keeping my spine nice and neutral, my abdominals are doing this. And because I do this all the time, my head lifts up a lot higher. But if you're just new to this and your abs just aren't really there yet, you're going to find out that you can barely lift yourself up and you can barely turn. Your head might not even come off the ground. It might be just needing some conditioning just to work on the engagement of the twist. You can see my abs are still working, even though my head's still on the ground, because it is possible that the abdominals are not ready to pull the full rib cage forward yet, that it doesn't have the strength. It may just barely come a ½ inch off, and you're like, how come I can barely come off? Because your abdominals have to gain the strength for that. You have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can come on down. Nice job on that one. That's a hard one. It's working the obliques. It's working your rectus abdominis, the one that folds you forward, and it's working your side obliques that twist you and side obliques that twist you. Okay, but now we got to work on the lower rectus abdominis. We always want the six pack, but there's a little pack down here that we need to work on. So we're going to bring our legs up to the ceiling, flexing the feet, arms up with the palms facing your shins, tucking the shoulders. Now leave your arms perfectly still where they are, and you're going to bring your shins to your hands and over your hips. You're going to bring your shins to your hands and over your hips. Breathing out when the legs come in and breathing in when they go out. And you're just trying to bring those legs up towards your, over your torso, working the lower abdominals here. Eventually we do little harder things that make it harder so that the whole lower abdominal can lift the whole weight of the hip off the ground. So when would we use this muscle, you ask? You would use it when you're climbing up trees, when you're pulling things up. I don't know if you recall when we were little and the girls would do the monkey bars and they'd spin around. They got a lot of lower abs on that one. You have 3, 2, 1, and then bring those legs straight out, toes to the ceiling, knees to the ceiling, tucking shoulders, arms overhead, palms facing each other, the width of a ball. So picture you have a nice 12-inch ball and it's overhead, palms facing each other. Now, if you're barely able to have your arms, they're not touching the floor, just work on that, tucking the shoulders down. If you're just too much in pain, go ahead and go to a T with your palms forward. And again, just tucking the shoulders down. But we want to eventually get up to the ball away from us. Why? This is just a natural chiropractor visit. This is what getting your spinal working, your spine, your arms, all your joints, they align with gravity when you put them into this position. So all these things will start to like line itself up, and you don't need a chiropractor for these types of things. Things like your wrist and your ankles, sure. An out of place socket, yeah. But if you just did this every day for 3 minutes, you would notice your hips start to align again. You'd notice your knees are straightening out, your shoulders are straightening out, your spine is getting all the way it's supposed to. It's amazing. Nice tight abs, and then bring the feet together, arms are down. Okay, it is time to turn to our hands and knees. We're going to work on our hips, so very hip centric now. So we're going to have your shoulders under your wrists. If this hurts too much, then bring your elbows under your wrist, tucking the shoulders. You're going to tuck the shoulders, and you want your hips under your knees. Tighten your abs, nose to the floor. We're going to shift our weight to the left hip, and then keep the hip nice and flat. Don't raise the hip, keep it flat. Flex the foot, and we're going to kick the heel up and down while keeping the hip nice and flat. Basically, again, that idea, if I had a cup of water here, would it be splashing? Would it be tilted? We would want it to be nice and level. All I'm doing is just kicking the heel up and down, using my glute and hamstring together. Relaxing my neck and shoulders. You have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Coming on down, I'm going to shift my weight to the right knee, tighten the abs, lift my left heel, and then I'm going to flex my foot, drop my hip, and I'm going to kick up and down. Again, nice and flat. If I had that glass of water, it's nice and level. Keep on breathing. Don't arc the back. Keep the belly button pushed to the spine. You have 3, 2, 1. Come on down. You're going to sit your butt onto your heels. And then if you can lower your arms down a little bit more until your forehead hits the ground into a full child's pose, that is fine. If not, then just keep your hips nice and folded, because we'd rather stretch the hips out because that's what we just worked out. And you're stretching out both arms. I'm just going to keep my one arm in because the support's being a little cranky. Yeah, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice tight abs. Come back up. Hips under the knees. Shoulders over the wrist. I think it's hips over the knees. Yeah. Tucking shoulder blades. Tight abdominals. Nose to the floor. We're going to shift the weight to the left thigh, left leg, and then straighten the leg. Flex the foot. We're going to lift level with the torso and tap to the floor. Level with the torso, tap to the floor. Again, you got to keep it nice and level. Don't tip to the side. Force that hip square to the floor so that your hamstring and glute have to work together without involving the back. It's really important that the hip learns how to move the weight of the thigh and the leg, not your back. You have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And bring that knee in, shifting the weight. Nice tight abs. Left leg comes out. Drop the hip, flex the foot, tuck the shoulders and the belly button. And we're going to lift and tap. Lift and tap. Again, really square that hip to the floor. Force the back to stay neutral, the hip to stay neutral, and use the muscles. They're giant muscles for a reason, because they have to lift the weight of the leg. But instead, we use the tiny little muscles in our back all the time. And then we wonder why we have back pain and weak thighs and weak hips. So we got to now know why and do the hard work of making the butt and the hamstrings move the hips and not the back. You have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to come back down here, and this time we're going to thread the needle. So we're going to put the right arm through the left arm and drop the shoulder, the right shoulder and the right face to the floor. Our butt does stick up in the air. You can either have your arm at 90 degrees or straight out. Either one is up to your preference. I like mine out like this. And what we're doing is with the butt in the air, it anchors our pelvic right where it's at, and then our spine has this nice little comfortable twist, and because our head's down, we're not straining it. And you have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tighten your abs. Come on up, and then we're going to bring the left arm through the right arm, butt sticking high in the air, palms facing the floor. No, palm is facing the ceiling. And just relax that neck and shoulder. This should be a nice, comfortable stretch. You have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice tight abs. Come back up. We have one more big exercise here. I'm going to tuck the shoulders down. You're having the wrist under the shoulders, the knees under the hips. Tuck shoulders away from the neck, flat back, belly button to the spine. We're going to keep our knees 90 degrees, and we're going to keep the heel in line with the knee the whole time. We're going to do fire hydrant. So we're going to shift the weight to the right knee, and then we're going to bring out the leg and bring it down. Bring out the leg and bring it down. What I don't want you to do is roll out the hip and do it. Keep that hip nice and flat like always, and just work the thigh bone. Force that thigh to have to contract the whole weight of the thigh straight out. Don't swing the back. Keep the hip nice and square. Abs are tight, shoulders are tucked. Keep breathing. Square those hips, squeeze that butt. Got 2 more to go. 1 more right here, and come on down. Okay, we're going to shift the weight to the left knee, flat back, tuck shoulders, and then we're going to bring that leg out and down. I'm going to go ahead and switch sides so you can see me. And just keep that hip nice squared to the floor. I'm at 9. 1 more to go. 10. Come on down. And then we're going to tighten those abs, and we're going to try to bring the right foot to the outside of your right hand. If you can't manage that, you can lift yourself up, bring it, and either grab a chair to hold on to, or you can set yourself down once you have the foot in place. This is a great hip stretch here. A lot's going on. So this is one if you can manage to work on, and if it takes you a year or 2 to get to this point, this is a worthy stretch here. I see a lot of people's back pain subside once they can nail this one down. Okay, nice tight abs. Bring that foot down, shifting the weight, and then bringing the left foot to the outside of the left hand. And you're just having where your arm and your shins are just nice and lined up with each other. Nose stays to the floor, shoulders are pushed away from the neck, and you're still breathing. Yeah, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And come on down, and we are done. Thank you for joining.